Hello, everyone. My name's Kieran. Welcome back to the Newport County pre-match vidcast. I still need to find a new title for it, but I'm not sure whether I ever will. But yeah, we're previewing Colchester. Of course, we didn't play last week thanks to the lovely storm that unfortunately meant every single game in Wales was called off, and neither did Colchester thanks to some scoreboard technical issues at their ground. But that being said, football's back on, albeit the weather is absolutely Baltic, and I don't know whether you'd be wanting to watch football with how the weather is. But either way, I'm joined by Ryan today. How are you, mate, first of all?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course, no worries. I looked at this game with quite a bit of interest because we'll start off by just talking about last season. Of course, you finished 22nd, just about survived on the final day. Coming into this season, obviously, we looked at like your summer recruitment. Looked really promising. Of course, you had Danny Cowley coming into his first full season in charge. But how did you feel, just before the season had started?
I think before the season had started, I think spirits were very high in the Colchester camp because you think back to what Danny and Nicky Cowley done not that long ago with Lincoln, a very small team that they came in, put their stamp on, put their style of play on, and they got the promotion with them. They went on a really nice FA Cup run with them. Then obviously they got the move over to, I think it was to Huddersfield or to Portsmouth. And then they done really well there. Then they got the move to the other team, and it was all sort of feeling like, do you know what? This could actually be quite an impressive year to be a Colchester United fan. Then the transfer window happened, and then we were starting to bring in some really, really really well known players and some really good players in the likes of Jack Payne, in the likes of Tommy Flanagan, Ben Goodliff, Teddy Bishop. And it was like, we were sort of sitting there thinking, do you know what? We're actually starting to get quite a good team together. The way we ended last season, it was probably the closest it's come in. I mean, I've been supporting Culture since 2001. It's probably the closest it's been in the time that I can remember. We literally normally sort of last 3-4 years, it's come towards the end of the season. We've changed some bits around, and then we've made the changes needed, and we've survived with a few games to go. But it needed a miracle, but it was on the last day we could have been relegated. We needed Sutton to go to MK Dons. I think they needed to score 4, which they did, but unfortunately Sutton also conceded 5, I think it was. And we just needed a draw. That's all we needed. And bizarrely, I can't remember the team it was we were playing, but they needed a draw to get into the playoffs. They got it in the last minute, and then everyone just stood around and was like, well, you've got what you want, we've got what we want. Happy days. And yeah, like I say, it was one of them things where it was like, right, forget about last season. That's been and gone. The Christmas period last year was horrible. I think every Col U fan wants to forget this time last year. It was just some of the worst football I've seen us play. We had a manager in Matthew Everington that, I'll be honest, had no idea what he was doing. He was well out of his depths. The Cowleys came in towards the start of January, and then you could sort of see, do you know what? If we stick by these, I think things might sort of turn around a bit, and hopefully, touch wood, that is what's starting to happen.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I've just scrolled up to how you started off the season, the first 5 games or so. It started off with a 1-0 loss to Harrogate, and then really since then, high scoring games, very, very close, very, close knit games. And I don't think that was something that happened a lot last season. So when we went into that first 5, 6 games, albeit I can only see realistically one win there that did come against Tranmere. How did you feel after those opening few games? Did you feel a lot more confident than you were at this point last season?
I think so. The first game in the season away to Wimbledon, I think it was the best start that we and that any Col U fan could want. We were 2-0 up after, I think, 6 minutes played. 2 goals from set pieces, both assisted by Jack Payne. balls into the box, and we had a centre back in Ben Goodliff that would just head the ball, and he would head whatever. Then unfortunately, it sort of went downhill a bit. They got a penalty that was clearly not a penalty. It hit John Kamani Gordon in the face, but the ref said it hit him in the hand. But we all know what the caliber of refereeing's like this year. Then they had a deflection. Then they had another couple of goals, which you sort of were defendable. Then the week later, we play the other Wimbledon in MK Dons, and we beat them 2-0. And it was sort of one of them things where like, do you know what? We're actually looking really good. And then it sort of dropped a little bit. We lost 1-0 at home to Harrogate, and I've gone on record and I've said Harrogate have got to be one of the most boringest teams I've watched. But at the end of the day, they came down, they parked the bus, they got the goal. COU fans call it boring football, but at the end of the day, the Harrogate fans we call it 3 points. So call it what you want, but we're going away with what you wanted. And then we played Accrington, Bromley and Morecambe in the next 3 games consecutively. And you sort of sit there, Morecambe at the bottom of the table. At the time we played them, I think they'd played 5, lost all of them 1-0. Colchester comes to town and it was a 3-3 draw. So that was a typical Colchester performance. And then, the Tranmere game that you're alluding to, in that game, we looked really good. We were passing it around really well. We scored some really nice goals. Defensively, we were solid. We looked really, really good. And then the week later, we go to Walsall and we lose 4-0. So we sort of, at the start, it was like, do you know what? Yeah, this is working. This looks really good. We look like we're going to be a really hard team to play. And then the week later, you go, sloppy mistakes, same as last year. Defenders being out of positions, deflections. So it was like a bit of a roller coaster. But hopefully now we have got rid of all of that. And we're actually starting to go on a little bit of a run. But yeah, towards the start, it was up, it was down, it was left, it was right. But yeah, you could see it was there. It just needed to, every COU fan was like, it just needs to click. Once it clicks, that's it. We're good to go. And I think now it might have clicked.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, we just talked just before we recorded. If you don't include the FA Cup game to Swindon, you're unbeaten so far in November. They're mainly draws: a 1-1 to Barrow, 1-1 to Bradford, an impressive 1-0 away win to that of Grimsby, a 0-0 away to Fleetwood, and then a really, really impressive 4-0 win against Swindon, albeit we know that the issues they've got as a club. But there's one thing that you mentioned there that was really interesting when you talked about the 3-3 draw with that of Morecambe is that wasn't the typical Colchester performance. I don't know whether you're referring to the huge amount of goals scored for you, the huge amount conceded, but the recent League Two game you had, of course, was that 4-0 win over Swindon, again, albeit we'll ignore the issues you're going through at the minute, or that they're going through at the minute. What is a typical Colchester performance as of this season, do you think?
So the 3-3 draw that I was alluding to with Morecambe, that literally was a case of it happens every year. And it's like a running joke with Colchester fans. Morecambe had played 5, lost 5, bottom of the table, scored 0, conceded 5. They lost every game 1-0. And it's a running joke. They go, oh, you've lost every game 1-0. You need a win. Don't worry, Colchester are here next week. It'll be a complete anomaly what happens. And then it was 3-3. We were 3-1 up, and then we lost it, and we drew 3-3. The performances that are coming on at the moment are performances where the players just don't want to give up. If they're 1-0 down, they want to get that goal. We struggled with that last year. We would go 1-0 down and we would sort of switch off a little bit and just sort of be like, we're 1-0 down. We'll try and get back into it. But if there's a player that's got a little bit of an injury or a niggle, he'll maybe shy out of the tackle. That doesn't happen at the moment. We've got Jamie McDonnell, who I don't know how he does it, but he goes flying in with every challenge. You'll hear a massive coming together of shin pad on shin pad or foot on foot, and he just gets up and runs after the ball. He is an absolute unit. and he plays as defensive midfielder. So it's literally a case of the attacking midfielder or the playmaker gets the ball, and you can guarantee McDonald will be straight on him and will just plough straight through him and hopefully win the ball. But yeah, it's just at the moment, it's just a want to just not want to give up and not stop running and not stop trying until that final whistle goes. The Barrow game where we drew 1-1 away, we scored in the 92nd minute. Again, another goal where Samson Tovide came on. I think he had an injury. He came on, he just pressed the defence. He squared it to Lyle Taylor. The Bradford game, that was another, I think it was about the 95th, or maybe even later, maybe 98th minute equaliser. Again, it was towards the end. We threw everyone forward. We just went for it, and that one was more. It was a bit personal because Bradford just wasted time from minute one, and then from there, we got the 1-1 draw against Barrow. In the EFL Trophy, we beat Arsenal's Academy 3-0 at home. We got the 1-1 draw against Bradford. Beat Grimsby away. Fleetwood, we should have won. We had a chance to win it right at the death, but unfortunately, Oscar Thorne hit it over the bar from about 4 yards out. Then we had Swindon at home, and it was like you say, Swindon they have problems at the moment. A couple of their goals were easily defendable, and they were, unfortunately, in the first half, they were poor. Second half, they were really good. They looked like a really, really strong side. But a 4-0 win in that game. We then had the Notts County game postponed, which is a shame because Notts County, with the problems they've got at the moment, injuries to Danny Cowley and Jody Jones, it was a really good time to play them. And then last night in the EFL Trophy, we played Wimbledon and beat them 2-0. So it's the defensive problems, they seem to have gone. Like I say, the want to just win and the want to just keep going and going and going is there. And that's something that we've not seen. We didn't really see that last year. We saw it coming towards the end of the season, but it's now starting to be. Like, you can see what Danny Cowley is doing. He's got his team. He's got his way that he wants to play set in, and the players are playing for him, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, it's something that I expected from a Danny Cowley team, especially when we allude to what he did at Lincoln. It was less of a automated play style that was the attractive thing about him being the head coach, and it was more the want and the desire. And I feel like that's something that he's almost missed in the past few jobs that he's been at. But it does look a lot more promising. Like we mentioned, unbeaten in the league in November. You mentioned all the EFL Trophy games as well, which are definitely a positive to win in their own regard, especially with that Notts County game postponed. You don't want to have too far of a gap in between a game. But in terms of your squad, of course, you mentioned that everyone kind of plays for the team. So I feel like this may be a difficult question for you to answer. But if you were to name me a few players that you think could cause Newport problems on Saturday, which ones would you specifically go for?
Straight away off the bat, I'm going to say Samson Tovide up front. He's an academy graduate. He's 19 or 20 years old. He is quick. He is strong. He isn't afraid to throw his weight around. If you've got a 18-year-old at centre-back who's making his debut, or you've got, as an example, Carl Piagiani or Dean Lewington, someone that's been around the block, knows League Two football, he'll sprint in at you, he'll clatter into you, he'll push you, he'll kick you, he'll pinch you, he will do whatever he can to get into your head. Like I say, he doesn't care if you're a seasoned veteran or a brand new player making your debut. He will, the old quote-unquote Sunday League thing, early doors, he'll let you know he's there. He will put his weight around to be like, you are going to have 90 minutes of hell. You're either going to get yourself sent off because you're just going to get so annoyed and lash out at me, or you're just going to go to your manager, can you take me off because I can't deal with him. So it's Tovide up front. We've got Lyle Taylor as well. Not sure if the two will play together. If they do, I think the pair of them will cause an issue. Like I say, with Tovide's pace and Lyle Taylor's just natural ability to score goals, I think they'll be an issue. Awara Edwards out on the wing, very quick, very agile. Very quick, very agile player. He'll cause he'll cause fullbacks problems. He can cut in, cut back out very, very quickly. And if he cuts in, by the time you've stepped to take the run, he's already 5 yards past you. Jack Payne in the hole, if he's on his day, unless you man mark him and make someone just run after him, if he gets the free space, he's going to cause problems. Jamie McDonnell in front of the midfield, he will, like I say, he doesn't shy away from a tackle. He will leave everything on the line. He'll throw his body in front of the ball. And then Matt Macy in goal. It'll be interesting to see, because I think you've got, is it Hoodlin, who's on loan from Huddersfield, who's about 19 foot tall. It'll be interesting to see on a corner who wins out of that, whether he wins for the header or if Macy can actually get his arms above him. Because Macy's no slouch. Macy's like 6'6", but I even think from playing like FIFA and stuff, like I think Hoodlin's 6'8", 6'9", something like that.
9, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be quite interesting, because we'll probably play Tommy Flanagan at the back, but even Tom Flanagan, who I think 6'4", is going to be looking up at him being like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to beat him in a header? But obviously, like we don't really know much about him. So in my head, I'm sort of hoping him being that tall, maybe he's a bit gangly in the leg and maybe he's not that quick, but I think he's your leading goal scorer. So he's got to be doing something right. And to be that tall, that's going to be a test. I know that much. And it's going to be one of them that when he's in front of the South Stand, I think the fans are going to be sitting there going, Jesus Christ, he's tall. But yeah, I think they're the main players. I could probably mention a few other players, but I think they're the ones that I think if you was to be able to man mark each of them out of the game, I think it will be very difficult for us to be able to do things. But I think definitely the one to watch and to keep an eye on will be Samson Tovide.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you got that every single time I do one of these, Carl Hudlin's always mentioned somehow, just because that height on its own, is something that not many players have, and he utilizes it relatively well, as you'd imagine. Most of his goals come from us putting the ball out wide and swinging across into him, which I'll give credit. If you have a 6'9" striker, why wouldn't you? It's not very often that you're going to have one. I'm still waiting for Cargbo to come back. Unrelated thing, but he's 6'6", so I'm just imagining a front two of those two, which amuses me quite a lot. Yeah, we'll kind of we'll dive back into a little bit of last season. If I can recall correctly, we played you towards the end of March last season away, and it was a 2-1 win to you, if I'm not mistaken, in that kind of period where you needed to get those results in order to make sure, of course, you didn't drop down to the National League. But in terms of this game, I mean, we're not exactly in form. We're not out of form. Three draws in a row. How are you feeling coming into this one? Because even after looking at your November form, you also seem to quite like a draw as well.
Yeah, the one thing that Danny Cowley he's gone on record to say is he doesn't mind the draws, but he doesn't want all the draws that we're getting. The thing that is good in the games where we've got the draws, recently it's been more that we've got the draw. So we've been behind and we've got the goal rather than been in front and let the goal in. So the draws we've had have been good draws, like I say, because we've got the goal and we've got the draw. We haven't lost the win. But yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I think unfortunately for all the Newport County fans, unfortunately we're coming into this with really, really high spirits, and we're coming into this thinking, do you know what? This is a game that we can win. Notts County was one that we was thinking when we was going to play them. They're in 6th. We was like, this could be a really good test. We've had some games recently where we've played really well. The Swindon game, we were going into the Notts County game with a 4-0 win under our belts. We were like, again, going in with the high spirits. The injury problems, the problems off the pitch. For some reason, they were wanting their manager sacked when they were in the playoffs. But hey ho, that game getting cancelled, and then unfortunately to then play AFC Wimbledon. Yes, okay, it was probably a second strength Wimbledon team, but to play a team in our league, beat them 2-0, and if I'm honest, a comfortable 2-0, again, like I say, if there's Col fans, they're doing a accumulator or anything like that, they're putting Colchester to win, because spirits are very high. We're playing really well. The last time we played at home in the league, we won. That was the 4-0 win. So yeah, unfortunately, Newport fans aren't going to want to hear this, but we're well up for this, and I reckon we're expecting another win.
Yeah, I'd imagine you would be, especially being at home, like you mentioned, coming into it off of the 4-0 win, or again, if you want to include that EFL trophy game and then the form you've been in November up to now. I suppose there is no reason to not kind of be confident going into it. Of course, I've just looked at the league table. 17th is where we are. You're in 18th. We've got a record of 6 wins, 4 draws, 8 losses. Your record, a lot tougher to beat, is the thing I'm mainly noticing. Only 5 defeats of the 18 games. But like you mentioned, that Danny Cowley mentioned, he doesn't like the amount of draws you're getting. It is 4 wins and 9 draws, which I'd be surprised if that isn't the most in the entire division up to now. But there's definitely, from just looking at it, there's things to slightly be tweaked, as you'd imagine. January is coming around the corner. In terms of that, I'm not sure whether there's any additions in certain areas of the pitch that you'd like, but there's definitely things there to say, right, if you're drawing 9 games, you're not far off the mark. But we will go slightly into kind of January, just as almost a roundup. If you were to kind of say in terms of that squad, do you think you have any weaknesses that you would like added to the squad in January?
We 1,000,000% need to bring in a left back. Ian Darlow has played every single game this season, and I'm talking League, FA Cup, League Cup, EFL Trophy. He has played every game, and if I'll go on record, I might be wrong in this, and if I am, I'm wrong by minutes. I think he's played every minute as well. So we need to bring in a left back, and when we bring in a left back, we need to just say to Ian Darlow, look, go on holiday for 2 weeks, go to the other side of the world, turn your phone off, just relax, just chill. You have played so much football. There are rumours that Tovide is on the move. What is nice, if he is on the move, it's going to be for some good money. He's under contract because he's a youth academy player. We've got the clause that at the end of his contract runs out at the end of next season. We've got the clause in there, being a youth player, that it can be extended by 1 more year. So he's in contract. He's not 23 and coming to the end, so we can sign a pre-contract. If he's going for money. At the moment, 5 goals, 5 assists in 16 games. He is in the form of his life, or the form of his career. Still such a young player. I think he'll follow in the likes of Junior Chamadou, Kawami Poku, Jaden February will get the move if he does to the league above. So potentially another striker. We've got Lyle Taylor as the backup, but Lyle Taylor is 33, 34 years old. So maybe bringing in a striker on loan from a Premier League Championship side. Maybe another winger, another pacey winger. We've got Edwards on the wing that's very pacey, but the other 2 wingers we've got are Harry Anderson and John Kamani Gordon, who aren't slow, but aren't Owara Edwards sort of quick. So maybe another pacey winger. I could probably go another centre half, another right back, another DM. I think the main thing is a left back to give Ian Darlow a break. A winger as a pacey winger as a sort of another option. And then it's more a thing of responding to what happens. So if we do lose Tovide, do we bring in a new number 9 and a new out-and-out goal scorer, or do we bring in a young player on loan? If we lose Arthur Reed, who's another one that I think has been mentioned, do we go out for a backup defensive midfielder or go out for a starting defensive midfielder? So I think left back and a winger are the sort of priorities, and then the rest is just reacting to what happens.
Yeah, it sounds very much like you need more depth rather in one position or 2 than it is immediate starters, which is definitely a beneficial thing, especially when you look at the league position, you can say that it isn't overly great. But we'll go towards, I think, probably a final standpoint question. If you fancy doing predictions afterwards, even though every time I do them, I get them tremendously wrong, we'll go into them. But like I mentioned, 18th in the league at the minute, 21 points. We know how close this division is. You could win Saturday and goal difference, albeit come and change. You could go as high as 12. So what do you potentially expect as a Colchester fan for the rest of the season? Would you expect potentially mid-table, a little bit of solidarity, push on then the season after, or do you think there's enough in that team to challenge for that top 7?
Oh, do I think there's enough to challenge for top 7? Do I go with my head and go with current form and go, yeah? Or do I top 7? No. Top half of the table? Yeah. I think at the start of the season, I predicted, I think it was 10th. I think if we can, the one thing that Colchester fans wanted this season was no relegation battle. I think looking at how the season's going already, I think Carlisle, Morecambe and Swindon, I think they've got that sorted between them. And I think Accrington are looking over their shoulder a little bit, sort of thinking, that dotted line's getting very close. I think for me now, in my heart, if we was to finish between 10th and 15th, I know I just said top half of the table, but 10th and 15th, I think for a first full season under the Cowleys with 2 transfer windows, and if Tovide goes, if other key players go, I think 10th and 15th, I think every Col U fan will go, do you know what? That was a good season. And then next season, that's when you push on and go, do you know what? Maybe this year, yeah, playoffs. But no, do you know what? No, screw it. Yeah, playoffs. Yeah, we're going to get playoffs. We're going to Wembley.
There we are. That's the better shout. You know what? League One next season, Championship the season after, push for Premier League the season after. That's the real reaction that you want from a football fan. Albeit, I think that we won't finish too much different to where we are at the minute. But I won't complain either.
No.
I feel we're both in similar scenarios to where you can almost take this season as don't be towards that dreaded bottom 2, but maybe another season, another few transfer windows before you talk top 7. But we'll go into everyone's favourite thing. Everyone's favourite. Everyone smiles when we talk about it. And that's predictions. Now, albeit I think when I predicted the last time I did one of these, we played Peterborough in the FA Cup. I predicted an 8-goal thriller. I was right. I was just the wrong way around. I mean, overly not too bad, but if you were to predict this game, albeit, you mentioned that you're in a lot of confidence, we're not in the worst, but also the greatest run of form. A lot of draws being kind of slid into there, haven't played in a week. How could you see this game potentially panning out?
I'm going to say it's going to be an entertaining game. So it's probably going to be a 0-0. I'm going to back my team. I'm going to say a 4-2 to Colchester. I think
I like him.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals. I think we'll get the win. I'm going to go with a 4-2. I don't know why 4-2. I wanted to say 3-2, but I thought, no, I think there'll be 4. I can see it being 2-2 for quite a long time. We'll get the third, and then I can see the fourth coming because you'll just push everyone forward and we'll get you on the counter. That's what I'm going. And if that happens, I'm then going to go and buy a lottery ticket because that's not going to happen. It's going to be a 0-0 draw now.
Oh, we're going to now clip this and then cut to the part where this game ends 0-0. No shots on target from either team. But I mean, I'm also in the mindset that this game has goals in them. We both know how to score. We both know how to concede. It's just, it feels 2 different styles of play. Which one will come out better on the day? I'm, of course, going to back my own team, albeit that I think we've won 2 away games the entire season up to now. So it doesn't fill me with too much confidence. I'm gonna also go high scoring. I think it's gonna be a little closer than 4-2. I'm gonna go 3-2 Newport. Now, when it happens 0-0, we're gonna clip both of these and we're gonna look absolutely shambolic and overly optimistic. But yeah, that being said, I don't think I have kind of any more questions. I feel that, we've previewed the game quite nicely. So in terms of, your socials, kind of what you do, feel free to kind of mention them now. I'll chuck them in the description and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm Ryan. I run the Twitter account at official up the U's. We have got a YouTube account as well, but unfortunately that's gone on the back burners a little bit due to personal things that have been going on in my life. But hopefully in the new year that will be kicking back on with some match day live vlogs and some interviews with fans and maybe even hopefully some players and ex-players along the line. But yeah, we just sort of go through and very similar to what you do, just post about the team that I love in Colchester United, and yeah, give a fair representation of the opponent, whether you come down and lose 4-0 like Swindon did, or if you come down to us on Saturday and you pump us 4-0, I will give a fair representation of every team.
Yeah, I like that, mate. So, with that being said, I think unless you have any other things to kind of mention about Colchester or this fixture, I feel like we're in, a relatively all right place to wrap it up.
Yeah, one thing I will say to any Newport fan making the journey, I was going to say down, is it across to Essex?
Across a
In
little, across and a
yes,
little bit,
little
like
yeah.
it may as well be across.
In the words of my dad, it's the coldest ground in football. So wrap up. It is, all the corners are open, so when the wind gets blowing, it does get very cold in that ground. So wrap up. Hopefully there are lots of goals, so you're up and down cheering. That's what I said to my dad. He was like, "I'm going to wrap up for this game." I went, "Nah," against Swindon. I was like, "No, you don't need to worry. We're going to score loads of goals." And then we won 4-0. Second half was a bit chilly, but yeah, other than that, to everyone making the journey across and up, have a safe journey and enjoy the game.
Fantastic, mate. But well, yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this episode up. I know I'm very inconsistent with these. I haven't done it in about 4 weeks. I'm trying to get to that point, but a little bit similar to you, Ryan, where I'm kind of on the back burner for other reasons. But that being said, to everyone making the trip to the game, like Ryan said, wrap up warm because even regardless of the coldest football ground, self-proclaimed, it's going to be freezing anyway. We know what it is. It's this time of year. And let's just hope for an entertaining game, firstly, but from a biased point of view, a Newport win to celebrate the beginning of the festive period, if you will. But that being said, big thanks to Ryan for taking some time out of his day to come on and talk about this fixture. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and go follow him on Twitter. There will be a link in the description. And yeah, comment your thoughts on the game. Is it going to be in the way that we put it, a very high end scoring, entertaining game, or in probably the way it's going to go, a 0-0, no shots on target, because that's how it always goes. But that being said, really appreciate you if you've gotten to this point in the episode, and again, hopefully we come back and we're in high spirits after a lovely third or fourth away win. I cannot remember our current record. But yeah, appreciate everyone's time and take care.